Yeah.
Realtor.
I
This is
never.
not good podcasting. For sure, cut this out. But yeah, Jesus Christ.
Well, the
I just
one,
heard you say realtor, and then my brain got distracted.
the one.
Winners use drugs.
Your question that stuck with me was the one around, or statement, I guess, was about needing higher and higher level kinks, and that's how kinks develop and
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And I was saying it's way more random and
Right.
whatever. Man, I've developed 2 new kinks where I'm just like, there's literally no idea. There's no tracing this back to like
No
an
spectrum.
event. There's no. But like one of my favorite things always to like, we kind of briefly touched on it in a previous podcast, I think, is people that are like protesting too much. You know, like being like, oh, you guys are so gay, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like those guys were always the guys that were gay, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
trying to be hyper masculine and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the thought of this. I was going to talk to you about kink, but this all tied in.
Yeah, I actually just saw a news article the other day where some Hungarian anti-gay politician was caught in like a 25-man orgy or something like that.
So
and it's like
next level.
yeah. And so that got me thinking. It's like we hear this story a lot, right? It's like the anti-gay crusader turns out to be gay, and they get caught in a circumstance like this. And what got me thinking is like, what gay guys are gonna fuck this dude if he's out there like railing against them and trying to take their freedoms and rights away? How does he find 25 dudes who are then willing to have sex with him? That's what I don't understand.
Because money and power could be reasons.
Right.
The other is hate fucking is real.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
So it's like, if he's the most detestable dude in the world, you're not thinking about if his throat hurts while you're fucking him.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like there's advantages to hate fucking.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like whatever the equivalent of a gay incel is, who can get laid, and then he hears a story like this. It's like, what the fuck? I can't get any dick, and this guy is out there
Yeah, for sure.
taking our freedoms away, and guys are piling on top of him. Like, what
Yeah.
the hell, right?
Yeah.
There's certainly a guy out there thinking that.
I think there's likely, this is based on just a wild guess, entirely
Right.
speculation. I bet there's a lot of free drugs available.
Yeah.
I think that's the hook, ultimately. It's kind of like, well, we don't rat on so-and-so because it's kind of like he hooks us up with coke, or,
Yeah, that's
you know,
a good
like
point.
he hooks
That's
us
a
up
good
with,
point.
like there's got to
Yeah.
be some advantage for them to not
Yeah.
be outing him, or
That's probably the case. I was thinking of a more like them trying to be understanding, like, oh, it's a journey for him. He hasn't come
no
to
way. No way.
Yeah.
Out of 13 gay dudes, at least one of them does not agree with that whole like this is a journey thing. It's like, no, this is actively hurting our community. Like,
Yeah.
we need to shut this dude down, and this will shut this dude down if I just tweet this. Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you remember what your thought was at this point? Because that's all I got on that subject.
I see. That's the unfortunate part about weed. It's the like flittering, like it can just be gone in a second. Like I had such a lane on kink and what people say versus what they do and whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, one thing I did want to tell you about was like I don't understand the logic. I went to a sex store yesterday, and I don't understand the logic of the employees there. Like, they were most places you don't really like hands-on employees. right?
Yeah.
Like even the most patient person doesn't like a sales employee like clinging on and following them around the store, being like,
Right.
here's our deals. And so at a sex shop especially, which are notorious for like people being shamed to be there,
Yeah.
hiding themselves, do they constantly want to be being approached and being told about your sex life?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I had never thought about that, but yeah, that is awful.
So the friend I was with was just like, yeah, she just kept talking because my friend is a very introverted, not going to be confrontational, not going to shut it down as fast as I would, right?
Right.
And she was just telling me that, yeah, this woman basically was like telling her like, oh, you'll want to get this. It's the best thing in the store. And this is how my clit works and it'll work for you too. And you see this in kink all the time. It's like these like, is it matriarchal? I think that's the term.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
these older women that are just like, this is how it is, darling. And this is the way it is for everybody. And they just
Yeah, I guess maybe it might be good info to get in that circumstance, though. Like, oh, really? This product is better
No,
than that
because
product?
like yourself. Everyone knows themselves. Like everyone's so different. So like this lady telling you this, I don't even know. Like this rabbit will work well for you.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant. It's like you don't know this girl. It's like maybe that won't work well for her. Maybe she doesn't like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I'd dislike that in all circumstances. Like even I remember buying the last bike that I bought. I was getting a lot of advice on what these pedals are better than these pedals, and it's like these people are, I guess, experts, enough of an expert to do it for a job, but they still don't know like how I ride and what's comfortable for me and all of that stuff. And so like in one particular instance, particularly the pedals, I bought pedals based on their recommendation that I didn't like at all. And I had to go back and get the pedals that I originally wanted to get that worked out way better, right? So
Yeah.
I'm sure that the same for a sex shop, I would imagine.
Oh, anyways, they were over the top. And then like, just no social. What happened? They had like a rewards program, and they were like, "Oh, no free sex points for you," or something like that. And I was just like, "Oh, like this is like just."
Yeah, but if you completely remove the stigma.
She's like, no, but the people that always have to say, I'm just joking after their statement, it just makes me want to like murder them. It's like,
Yeah, true.
you knew that was going to be terrible to say. Like, why? Like, just, I'm sure you've done this to other people in your lifetime if you've owned this shop for a while.
Right.
Like,
right.
you've learned from this previously that people don't like this when you're like, all bitter about them not wanting to sign up for your sex rewards shop, which at a sex shop, you should also expect that this is more likely people don't want to get on your mailing list.
Very true. Yeah.
Right. So it's like,
I mean, some people
everything
probably
rubbed
do.
me. Like, do you know how important it is to get the right salesperson? Like, I always think about this. I'm just like, these people either crush for you or murder your business. And it's like, you have to nail that interview. It's like, if your business relies on a salesperson, you need to figure out, is this person likable? Is this person likable?
Yeah.
I cannot believe how many people like are in sales that just have no social awareness whatsoever.
I mean, I think the problem with that is some people will like someone that other people don't like, right? It's hard really
I can't
to
argue
get a
with I
catch-all.
can't I can't argue with that, but you know what I mean. Like, there's just certain people that a large majority of people are going to find overbearing. Like, if you went into that shop, like, you'd be like, you would probably have to say like, great, thanks, I got it. Like, we'll
Yeah. Well, like, okay, so I had a circumstance last weekend. I'm trying to buy a new dishwasher, right? So I'm at the store, looking at dishwashers, and this salesperson comes up to me. He's like, "Do you need a hand?" And I'm like, "Well, there's a few models here that I've been looking at." And so he basically he's like, "Well, what's most important about these things is what breaks down." And he's like, our service guys over at the shop, they're saying that a lot of these new models, the electronics are going to break down after a year. This is a big problem. As you can see, the warranties on these things expire after a year. So obviously, at that point, you have zero recourse with the company. You have this thing installed in your place, and it costs money to get it installed. So and then he's like, what I recommend is you actually, instead of going for one of these, get one that's like $200 cheaper and get our $200 extended warranty on it. That will cover the electronics. And it's like, to me, I know all about extended warranties. Like, I've worked in retail before, and extended warranties are bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
The whole reason the guy focused on electronics as the problem is because most of a lot of the brands there were giving 5-year warranties specifically on the motor, right? So he was trying to find that angle. He was basically telling me that the electronics are going to go because that's the angle that I would then consider an extended warranty. And it made me just completely shut down. I didn't want to talk to the guy anymore, and I just left the store right there and then.
Mm-hmm.
I think that person would have actually appealed to a lot of people because he made it seem like he was giving sort of insider knowledge about these things, and most people would have fallen for it, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, I'm also extended warranties. See, the problem is I'm surprised I'm not hooked on extended warranties, because one of the first things I ever invested in was a video iPod.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, fuck yeah. But I got it home, and it had a lock screen, just a permanent lock screen that couldn't be reset. And I had bought the warranty. And so if I hadn't bought the warranty, I would have been out $200. Wouldn't have been able to buy a new one, right?
Right.
There was probably some like legal, you can return within 7 days. I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure there is. Yeah.
I don't know much about returns. It's always one of those things that's always been too much anxiety for me to do. So if it's under $100, I just take it as an Ian loss. It's like, I'm just eating this, or trying to resell it, or whatever. Yeah.
I probably would have been that way too if I hadn't worked in retail. But I worked in a retail electronics store, and I worked in the repair.
Radio Shack?
Not Radio Shack, no. A big name one. But I also worked doing repairs for them, right?
Yeah.
So I dealt with the extended warranty a lot, and it was horrible. The amount of people that got screwed over from that thing, I felt really horrible. Like I would go home and just feel kind of dirty.
Yeah.
Because of how many people would get screwed over by this thing. And the thing you always have to remember with an extended warranty is if the company wasn't making money off of it, they wouldn't sell it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you shouldn't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that applies to insurance in general, but particularly with extended warranties.
Oh, that insurance is a whole world that I know nothing about. It just it freaks me out. Like, these are the kind of things that I'm just like, is someone going to take care of this for me?
Yeah, well, that's the angle they want to put, right? Is like it's less about it's not a good financial investment, but it's like a peace of mind investment, right? That's what they want it to be. But all insurance is bullshit, right?
Unless you need it.
But what is good insurance? Like, there's no good insurance out there, right?
I don't understand the argument.
Well,
how is there not good insurance out there?
Because it's all making the insurance companies money. So if you're putting money into an insurance plan,
oh, I see what you're saying.
You're getting less out of it than you're putting in, because that's how these people. It's like like casino.
But
right?
unless you're one of the 10% of the people that need to use that.
Yeah.
right? So like it's like it's not. I don't think it's necessarily like yes, they're earning money, but they're also paying out to people that need it.
Yeah, but they're paying out less to the people that need it than they're getting in total premiums from everybody, right?
But that's fine. That means that like a lot of people aren't going to the hospital or aren't whatever.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the casino, right? The casino, there's a house advantage. So the more you gamble, the more likely it is that you're going to lose money. Sure, you get a win once in a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the statistics ensure that over time you're going to lose more than you're going to win, right? And the same is true with insurance because they set their premiums at a level that ensures that they make money. Over time, you're going to end up paying more in premiums than you're going to get back in insurance claims. It's just a fact of the universe, right?
Like, so in the sense that like you're saying that like, say you need $33,000 for cancer,
Yeah.
something, and they give you that. You're saying you've already paid way more in than 33,000.
In most cases, yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
like the casino. Sure, someone wins big. Like I could go into the casino
Mhm.
tomorrow. I've gone maybe once or twice in my entire life. I could go tomorrow and win a jackpot that's who knows what, like 10, 20 grand, and decide never to go to the casino again. I've now made money off the casino. But over success, like statistically, that's very unlikely to happen.
Yeah.
It's much more likely that I'm going to walk away having lost money.
Right.
And the same is true for insurance. So statistically, you're much more, in any case, you're much more likely to pay money that you didn't need to pay.
So what I'm trying to get at is what system would be more effective in supporting people that like need
Well,
support.
I'm glad you asked. I do have a thought on that particular subject. And my thought is like, particularly with liability insurance that you have to get on the car, right? So with cars, it's by law, you need to insure yourself against liability in case you get into an accident, right? What if instead of there being a circumstance like that where you have to pay in to an insurance premium, why can't I just pay into an account that where the money goes, and then when I need to make a claim,
Right.
You withdraw from that account, right?
Right. I see what you're saying.
And then at some point, if you had no accidents, you just get that money back, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're 80 or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Once you give up your driver's license.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's a good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's this whole industry out there that,
There's a lot of sweet scam industries that are just like, why do you guys exist?
yeah.
It's like, you could totally be eliminated by blockchain.
It's like another one that bothers me is real estate agents.
Oh my fucking God. Okay. Don't
Right.
get me started on this. So
Well, no, let's get started.
no, because look, so the funniest thing is I was dating one
Oh, yeah. Cool.
last year.
Yeah.
And the whole time I kept joking with friends. I was like, the funniest part is I'm with someone that I'm like, and I told her to her face, I was like, I'm with someone that like for years I've been saying, you're in an irrelevant industry.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
so unneeded. Like I just remember thinking that like I could go around and kill it as a real estate agent, but it's like, it's such a pointless.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
just conning people.
Yeah, and I mean, it really sucks when you use one and they're so effortlessly involved, right? They're just like, okay, you want it? I'll call that guy's real estate agent and set it up. Okay, it's done. And you're like, you just made $15,000. Like, how did you? For what?
Well,
right?
and the freakonomics thing, right? About the like they're pushing house sales because whether or not they get more or less, they're
Right.
not incentivized really to go for more or less.
Right.
This is one reason that like I'm still raging about my own parents selling a house. Like because their real estate agent basically came in, put this price on, and like they took the first offer. That's
Yeah.
always a terrible sign, like
Right.
that you have underpriced. And I remember just thinking, like, do I even want to know the number? Because like, will it just enrage me to know what my parents have lowballed this at, right?
Yeah.
Like ultimately, it's their decision. This is not my money, but I hate to hear people. Like, I mean, this is a childhood home, so it has sentimental value, right? So,
Right.
or whatever, right? So I don't want to see it go for. I hope my parents get a good profit off it, I guess.
Yeah, like if you think about if you were really charitable and thinking about what is the value of real estate agents, that's exactly it. Is their job is to talk people down to a more reasonable price. Like that is the only value that they provide society. It's like, because there are sites where people can try to sell their homes without a real estate agent. And I remember looking on them when I was looking to buy a house, and the prices were a lot higher than what I was getting from my agent, right? And it was like that's because those people haven't been talked down
Yeah.
by their real
But
estate agent.
that's the thing. Ultimately, the market talks them down, right? Like if your house is on the market forever, well, then you can't keep your super high price you're
Sure.
asking for on calm free.
Yeah, totally. I'm like I agree. It's an irrelevant industry to have. It bothers me a lot because what these real estate agents do is they have this whole system, right? Where if you list your house with a realtor, you get into their system, and that's the only people they're gonna those are the only houses that they're gonna show their clients, right? I can't sell my house as just a person and have a realtor who's helping someone buy a house come and look at my house. They're not going to do that. They're only going to show their clients houses in their system. So they're like holding the whole market hostage, right?
Right. Are you American?
Well,
Were you
what do
born
mean?
American?
No, I was born in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Realtor. We say them differently.
Oh, realtor.
You say realtor.
Who says realtor?
You say realtor.
But when you say I do I do it because I'm Canadian or because I'm American?
No, I don't know why we're saying the word differently.
Realtor versus what?
Realtor.
Oh, realtor. Yeah.
Realtor.
I'd
This is
never-
not good podcasting. For sure, cut this out. But yeah, Jesus Christ. I
Well, the
just
one-
heard you say realtor, and then my brain got distracted.
The interesting one that my girlfriend brought up was water. Right?
Water?
Yeah, water.
How are you saying it wrong?
Well, water is WADDER. It's water, right? There's a T in there, but I
Water.
always say water.
Water.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can hear it now. Yeah, that's true. Which is funny because on your mom's house they make fun of a Brazilian guy, and he's like, "We don't drink tap water, we drink fuzzy water or fizzy water because we're not poor." He's like this. He's this like UFC fighter who's this like super misogynist. It's such a funny fucking bit.
Yeah, I don't know. Is fizzy water better? I always
Terrible. It's terrible to me. I hate it.
it's like sour or bitter or something, right?
Just kind of, I don't know. Well, and that's what this MMA fighter talks about. He's like, "What are you afraid of bubbles?" Like this is,
Yeah.
you know.
I think I have a traumatic. I don't know if a lot of people have this story, but going to the fridge as a young child and seeing club soda in the fridge, thinking it was, a sugary pop drink, pouring myself a
Absolutely.
glass and just being assaulted with this gross, horrible thing.
That
right?
happened for sure.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that with molasses?
No.
That was the worst one for me. I don't know why it was in the fridge, but I definitely thought it was going to be chocolate milk, and it was not chocolate milk. The bottle, like if you've ever
Yeah,
seen,
yeah.
right? It is exactly
very-
like a little chocolate milk container. I must have been like grade 7 or earlier. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
that was terrible. So I definitely intimately know the taste of molasses if I ever need to identify.
That's hilarious. I could see myself making that mistake as a kid. I don't think I did, but I could totally.
Is
that.
molasses sugar?
It's well, like there's white sugar and brown sugar, right? The brown part of brown sugar is molasses, so that's what they take off the sugar to make white sugar.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Interesting.
I think so. I don't know 100% that,
Yeah.
but I think that's how it goes.
Yeah. I wanted to start a conversation about we were talking about it earlier, the matriarchal women that have like the opinions about this is how it always is and whatever.
Yeah.
People that have opinions like that this is the way things always are. Like there's no exceptions. No one can do it differently. No one has a different experience or timeline or
Yeah.
like this is how it works all the time. I run into that personality so often that it like they can't deviate from it either. Like if you give them a new, better idea, they're just like, nah.
Do you have an example of a situation?
Example where people wouldn't want to deviate.
Because I'm sure I know what you're talking about, but I think I would have an easier time.
Yeah. Nothing is immediately coming to my brain. I'm struggling for sure.
Did you? Yeah, I
agoraphobic.
I definitely know people that are very persistent in their thinking about how the way the world works and the way things should be. I mean, I think isn't that what we call conservatives? Isn't that the conservative viewpoint versus the liberal viewpoint?
What?
Well, the conservative is someone who likes the way things are and doesn't want things to change, right?
Do you think that's true though?
Well, that's the classical definition, I think.
Yeah. But like, do you think if they actually got their way and they reversed time to like the 1950s or whenever their glory period is, do you think
Right.
they'd actually enjoy it?
Well, they wouldn't, of course not. But I also have a liberal mindset, so I believe that they wouldn't enjoy it because I believe that the future holds the promise for us all, right?
Weird. Oh shucks, I can't have my gaming den. I gotta pretend that I like just drinking whiskey and smoking
Right,
cigars
right.
and going to bed.
Like I don't even want to have a situation like I was watching a movie the other day that was like it's kind of like Groundhog Day, but it's like a newer show where this guy he wakes up every day and it's the same day,
Mhm.
right? It's like I wouldn't
You
even
don't remember the name of it?
all the happy things or something. I can't remember.
Okay.
Um,
Oh yeah, shit. I wish I knew the actor's name. Is it the guy from The League?
maybe I didn't
Okay,
recognize.
anyways, go ahead.
But like I don't even want to have a situation where like I would loop back to say my childhood and get to relive
You wouldn't want to?
I wouldn't want that because I don't want to go back and have to deal with the 90s. Fuck the 90s, right?
What do you mean? The 90s for you were probably great.
They weren't great. Like my home situation wasn't spectacular, but I'm thinking more like I don't want to deal with dial-up internet and CRT monitors and low.
But that was a fun time because it was like, oh man, this is all like new exploratory shit. This is
Yeah.
going to change the world.
I mean, sure you can have that romantic notion about it, but if you went back, you'd be like, fuck this. This sucks. Where's Spotify? Give me fucking Spotify right now. I'm sick of this.
But that's the thing. I routinely think about getting like vinyl and CDs and shit.
Yeah, but
currently.
you're looking at the past with rose-colored glasses, right? In reality, you'd hate it. It would suck. Like I don't think I couldn't handle going back and playing video games with those graphics, and
But like, I'm gonna borrow Bomberman from my brother this week.
Yeah, well, you have sentimentality to it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess you could go back and you would have you could
We could play a
relive.
Bomberman with friends.
Yeah, you could relive the nostalgia that you have for that time. I don't really prescribe to nostalgia very much, so
Interesting.
I would just feel, it would just suck for me.
Because that's a question I used to ask people is, you know, how much would you pay to go back to relive one day,
Yeah,
right? And so you're just saying you wouldn't relive any day.
I think I would like to do things differently. Like obviously I have regrets in life, and so maybe I'd like to go back and try to do things that I wish I had done. But objectively, I would hate having to deal with the 90s world, right? In terms of the ideas, like we were in the 90s, people were questioning whether or not stem cell research is ethical,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, come on, right? We're so much farther advanced than that now. How could you go back and try to interact with these people that have these like outdated ideas and all this outdated technology? And
Yeah, but I guess we were supposing two different things. You're saying you go back with today's mindset.
yeah,
I'm saying you relive the day.
what do you mean?
So all that would happen in my experience is you go back like Matrix style, you know you're plugging in, you go back, you play out the day, you experience all the emotion of the day, everything, right?
Okay.
And then
yeah.
you get unplugged again.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't thinking that. I was thinking like you go back and you get to now do the things the way you get to use your adult knowledge and wisdom to have a proper childhood, right? That's what I was thinking.
Right. And I'm thinking go back and have a useless day of playing indoor floor hockey or Lego.
Yeah. So that, I guess that, yeah, that would be cool. Sure.
If it's interesting thinking about it your way, because I was like the weird one that popped into my mind was I still remember this day I was trying to walk to floor hockey, which was at our church, and I got a migraine halfway through or a panic attack. I still don't know, but I remember just feeling so nauseous and just like falling over onto the grass, and like this lady like came up to me and whatever. It'd be so weird if I had your thing where it's like I had my now knowledge in my like grade 4 body, and I was like, it's a panic attack, just leave me alone, lady. Like this little toddler, like that'd be hilarious.
I mean, I would definitely, if I went back to like really young, I would totally just enjoy like just all of a sudden being an adult to this child's body, to some random person just to fuck with them, right?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden start speaking normal.
Yeah, in your fully realized voice. Yeah.
Yeah, like I would want to troll people that way. Other than that, I'd hate it though. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I would.
Like if on an airplane, some lady in a few rows ahead just like chided like your mom or whatever, and just like, can you shut that kid up? Like he's laughing too hard at his program or whatever, and
right.
You just sort of like, hey lady, I'm really not trying to upset you. I just really enjoy this comedy. She would be like, exactly. So caught off guard.
Yeah, like I would definitely, there's a lot of circumstances where that stick in my mind where some adult told me something when I was a kid that was obviously bullshit, but I just accepted it because I was a kid. And like if I went back, I would love to just tell that person, no, I'm going to explain to you all the ways that you're wrong right now in very logical, very...
Do you have examples?
Well, I mean, one, this one's not a good example because it's just a fact. It's not like a logical argument, but I do remember my science teacher saying to us that humans only use 10% of their brain, right? And even as a kid, I'd never heard this before,
It sounded
but I thought it
stupid.
was too ridiculous to be true.
Yeah.
So I put up my hand and said, "There's no way that that's true," and he persisted, and we had a bit of a back and forth about it, and yeah, I would love to go back and re-have that conversation
Yeah.
and say, "No, there's no way. You're telling me there's a amygdala, there's the cerebral cortex, the neocortex." Like there's all the brain is being in use all the time.
Doing
right?
something.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't, like evolutionarily, it's like if it wasn't doing something, why would it be there?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a wonderful point to bring up in that particular situation, right?
Yeah.
Like why the hell would we be carrying around all of this gooey mass in
Yeah.
our brains if it doesn't have a use, right?
Yeah. I would. Yeah. It's interesting. Because I don't remember specifically learning that or anything, but like I probably had the same idea, like 10%. It's like, well, in theory, then like you should be able to unlock this 90%. Like, why is it like why aren't people trying to pursue that, and why isn't that happening, and why hasn't that happened already before?
Right. Although I think the people that perpetuate that idea that we only use 10% of our brain are specifically wanting to sell you some way of unlocking
Oh, I see.
the other 90%, right?
Okay.
That is definitely part of it, for sure.
Okay, like we'll teach you how to speed read, and then you'll
Right.
be able to really whip through books and textbooks so you can memorize everything in the world and unlock that.
Yeah. Did you ever I can't tell just from knowing you, but did you ever have circumstances when you first started to smoke weed where you got into situations where you were just too high to deal with and it ended up being really awkward and you kind of regret smoking weed at that particular point in time?
No, I've never had a bad
Really?
weed time
Oh
ever.
man, I've had so many times like that.
No, I remember like one time, like, you know what a lot of people would consider to be the worst. Someone was like, "Are you high at my wedding?" I was
yeah.
like,
yeah.
"Yeah, of course." And like, they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, okay. I wish you could have taken today off to not get high." And it's like, well, clearly I shouldn't be here because you don't know me well enough to know that like
Yeah.
I like weed a lot. Like, yeah, you're not a very, and like, why are we friends at all? Like, at all if you're not accepting of me high or not. Anyways, just like,
Yeah, okay. I can see you in particular not having any problems with being high in any circumstances.
I
It was
really don't.
always a big issue for me.
It really honestly pissed me off that like my friends would turn into different people even around smoking at weddings. Like they would be like, "I can't smoke. My parents are here."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you have 3 kids and a wife.
Right.
Tell your parents you smoke. Just let them see you smoke. What's going to happen?
Yeah, well, I guess once you reach adulthood, then, like we've talked about this before, right? It's like there's a power dynamic shift when you become an adult, where you're less you have to do less to impress your parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a teenager, it's totally different, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about like 36-year-old men
Yeah,
afraid to be caught smoking.
a 36-year-old man should, if he smokes, should just be whatever about it with his parents. Absolutely.
Well, and also like there's no way his parents are that stupid.
That's also true, yeah.
Like you're treating a like I would try to always tell them like you're making your parents look like assholes by
Yeah.
pretending at this point that they don't know you smoke weed or do drugs or
Yeah, totally.
like there's no way they haven't smelled that on you. You lived at home like this summer while you were doing it, like or you know whatever. It's just
Yeah, like when I was still living at home, I started smoking and I tried to hide it. And so I was basically going out with friends 3 times an
Constantly.
evening, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how did they not realize?
yeah.
I'm sure they did, but
I'm going out to the store.
yeah. Well, I'm just going to go out hang out
For
with
a
so
walk.
and so.
I went on a lot of fucking walks.
Right, same.
No, I'm kidding. I've never had to hide it ever. So I don't really know what that's like.
I got a telescope for my birthday one year.
What's that?
A telescope?
Oh, okay. My brain. So I thought that was a brand of weed,
Oh.
and I was like, "What's a telescope?" It sounds like a
Or
giant joint that's like, do you know what I mean? Like a telescope, like joint.
Yeah, or some drug paraphernalia.
I thought
yeah, telescope.
we were
bong.
in different zones for sure.
Yeah, so I got a telescope
Okay.
for Christmas or something.
I would be enraged if I got a telescope, but go ahead.
Oh, I liked it a lot.
No, I know you did. I'm saying
Yeah.
I would be enraged. Go ahead.
But that was what I used that. I developed when I started smoking. I suddenly got really into using my telescope because I'd be like, "Kit, going out to look at the stars, right?"
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that was my.
You could be out doing it.
Yeah, and I would just go out there and smoke cigarettes, and I would look at the stars too. But yeah, I mean, I lived in the city, so
Yeah.
it wasn't that great.
Do you know what? I shouldn't say I've never tried to hide it. I tried to hide it from my first girlfriend because I knew she wouldn't approve.
Mm.
I was like, oh, she's not going to like that I smoke weed. And I was like, it's just not that big a deal.
Yeah,
It's like, I bet I can hide this. And the other thing, this is something else to know about me. I love having secrets. Having secrets, there's been something since I was a kid. Greatest feeling ever.
really.
So it's like, this is why if people tell me secrets, it's like I'm very vault-like, which is why I expect people to be vault-like. And I'm so often disappointed that people aren't as vault-like as I am around
Yeah.
shared information.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with me, I can be vault-like, but I have to be explicitly told because I don't really have a good measure of what is and isn't privileged information
To that
When
person.
Yeah, like someone would have to say, yeah, listen, this is just between you and I, and then that thing will never be said again
Yeah.
to anyone else, right?
What brought this up?
You said you like keeping secrets.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, I really like keeping secrets. And
What
so
is the why?
I used to like hide behind the couch and like keep notebooks and like observe people, like voyeur shit.
Oh, yeah.
So I assume that's where like kink voyeur shit comes from.
Could be.
You know, and like, but then like having this secret notepad, I liked having like, you know, I liked, you know, like how girls are stereotypically have journals that they have locks and keys and shit like that. Like same for me. It's like I had like you know, I liked having hidden shit. I liked always having something hidden. So like I love having a good secret to like that. And so like I can't imagine I've had any better days smoking weed as an adult than the days I was hiding it. Like and like going for these walks. Because I actually genuinely did go for a walk every day that summer to go smoke weed. And I had a little vape, like so that it wouldn't like linger on, like it wouldn't actually, you know, create a smell on me. Yeah, it was perfect. It was like the best, right? Because it's like, 2 p.m. walk time. And then I would just be like ripped out of my mind because it was like, it was like the only time that like it was forced allotted time that I could be smoking weed, you know, and like I couldn't just be doing it all the time.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I enjoyed it too. I'm not sure. I never thought about that. That if it was kind of fun to hide that, if it made it more exciting or.
Well, that's why I thought weed was going to be boring for most people now. Like it can't be that exciting anymore. Because part of it was that it was like, oh shit, we might, you know, or we're doing something weird or wrong or different or counterculture. And it's like, well, if everyone accepts it, it's not very counterculture.
Yeah, I think it's legalized weed is going to result in it being less popular amongst teenagers for that reason.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost, it could go either way, right? Maybe kids will grow up just being less into drugs in general, or maybe they're going to find some other substance that is still taboo to use to be the main
I think
thing.
there's always shifts in drug culture, right? Like we always have shifts and new things come along and they like, things spurt up for a while like salvia, whatever, and then they go away and then
That's true.
But the mainstays are the mainstays. I think it's the same thing that drives it all the time, which is addiction rates.
True. Yeah. And I mean, it's still going to be considered, it's not counterculture. So maybe that's going to stop like people in their early 20s who are into that counterculture thing. But teenagers who they're not allowed to do it because they're under 18 are still going to want to do it for that reason, right?
Yeah. I think people don't like to think that legalizing makes it more accessible to minors. It absolutely does.
Really? You think so?
Sure.
I disagree with that, actually.
What parents do you think are like? I had this conversation recently about what parents do you think are every time unlocking their weed cabinet or whatever guidelines they're supposed to have, right? Isn't it a locker or something?
Oh, I don't know what the guidelines are at all.
Oh,
I've
okay.
Never even thought.
Maybe
to
this is
look
the
into
thing
that.
I've made up. But like my understanding is that the common knowledge is that most adults should be putting away their weed stuff in like a vault or something so that they're like teenage people can't get it.
Yeah, I guess it's the same as like a liquor cabinet, right?
Yeah. You think every time these parents are unlocking and locking those things, or like the kids haven't figured it out if they wanted to? Do you know what I mean? It's like I stole from my parents growing up. I knew about everything in the house. You don't think kids know about everything in the house?
I think I think you're right about that, but I think what you're discounting is how like for me in say 16, 17 era of my life, it was way easier for me to get weed than it was alcohol. Like the dealer, you just made a call and he showed up at your house and gave you the weed, right? You didn't have to find someone who was over 18, ask them, hey, do you mind going to the liquor store and buying this thing for me? Like it was way more of a pain in the ass. Yeah, in the circumstances where a friend stole something from their parents' liquor cabinet, there was definitely those circumstances, and I mean, they were pretty fun. But I don't understand how their parents didn't find out about that. Like a whole fucking 2-6 is missing, and their parents don't know. Like,
no, I know, but I think that's also why weed is kind of the perfect thing to steal as a minor as well, is because who really keeps track of how many nuggets they have after they've originally bought it, right?
True.
Like it's like it is a very good thing that like you can take 1 or 2 nuggets, get fucked up as a minor, right? When you're still like it's still working like crazy.
yeah.
And you don't have to like water it down or do anything that might tip your parents off, right? Like you just got to make sure not to get too greedy. It's a whole game of not get too greedy.
Right, that's true. But I don't think that's going to change between illegal and legal weed, right? Like kids of parents that smoke weed still had those opportunities before it was legal, right?
But I think that's naive because I think as it gets more acceptable to have and like people just kind of have it and it's becomes like as common as beer or whatever, that it'll allow access. But at the same time I still like, this is why I'm always saying like decriminalize everything, because it's like the same teens that wanted to use it are gonna use it and get a hold of it. And
Do you
know what I mean? I'm not saying that because we legalized it, numbers are going to increase. I'm just saying access, and it's probably honestly better that they're stealing legal weed that may not have pesticides on it like illegal weed.
Well, I think your argument would probably work well if there's a lot of people who buy weed occasionally, right? Like they buy an eighth of weed. They maybe smoke it with a little bit with friends, and then it's just
Mm-hmm.
sitting in a drawer for months and months. In those cases, yeah, a kid could take that and it would not be noticed at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have parents that are smoking weed regularly, your access to weed will not have changed in the circumstance of it being illegal or it being legal,
As the
right?
kid,
Yeah.
what do you mean? You now don't have to contact a dealer. You just get free weed from your parents occasionally.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like a kid whose parents are smoking weed regularly, even in the case where it's illegal, they have that access to the
Oh, I
weed,
see what
right?
you're saying. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
It's not going to change. Like I
But I'm just saying there's more people now into it that it's legal.
yeah, that
So there's more
yeah.
households, right?
So if that's the case, I'm skeptical that the amount of people that smoke weed has increased because of legalization by any significant amount. Well, maybe a little bit, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's like something I'd like to look up, like the numbers and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Because I feel like everyone who smokes weed now was smoking it before. There's probably a few people. I think we've even talked about this before. But
I was thinking today about how different this podcast is compared to what I'm going to be doing with other people.
oh yeah.
I was thinking yesterday that we talk in ideas, like, one of the things my co-host,
Yeah.
like, one of the reasons she may not have understood this podcast is she doesn't understand how we communicate, because
Right.
we don't communicate in the way me and her communicate. Like, me and her communicate in such a feeling way. We're generally talking about how people relate to each other and whatever. We're not talking
Right.
about these ideas about AI murdering the world and
Yeah. That makes sense.
politics and whatever. And I was just thinking about how that podcast inevitably is going to turn into some weird, like, sex advice kind of show,
Right.
or like,
Right.
like I can't see what else the fuck we're going to talk about all the time. Like, that's just naturally what it's going to be.
Do you think it'll be more structured than this one in that sense? Like you'll actually get to the point where like, okay, we're gonna take comments or callers and discuss their
Yeah,
sex
well,
problem.
that's the thing. Like, I just kind of see, like, inevitably that's where it would kind of go.
Oh,
Is an
that's cool.
advice, like, because I can't imagine we don't talk like in the same way we talk. We talk about generally new ideas, right?
Right.
We I find like our rhythm is way more. I thought about this yesterday. We have the same conversations a lot. It's
Yeah.
more of agreeing conversations and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that gets boring to listen to, because it's like we're just agreeing back and forth. Whereas with me and you, it's more ideas, right? And so that's why I think, like, inevitably you might have to change the structure of a show, because you would start to realize, like, every podcast you're putting out, you've talked about the same topics, had the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
emotions,
totally,
run through the
totally.
same.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it would have more of a redundancy issue than we have, because we're so different that
Right.
it's like our viewpoints is what makes it interesting too.
I've had the same thought too. I was thinking, I was like, could we have done something that's more structured and has a topic? And I was like, I don't think you and I could do that, because where our interests lie, it's too different, right?
Yeah.
Like the things that you know a lot that you could do deep dives into are not the same things that I could do.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, our dynamic is much better being where we kind of skim across a lot of different things and we just examine our different perspectives on it and say,
Yeah.
oh, that's how you think about that. That's how I think about
Yeah.
that. It's interesting that we can both approach this thing in different ways, right?
It is weird that our minds work the same, but we're not necessarily into the same things.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is like,
I mean,
yeah.
that to me is the best kind of friendship to have. I personally think.
I honestly don't have many of them, so I guess I can't agree with that.
Yeah.
I guess I ought to obviously think the agreeing. You know what? I'll say this: if the agreeing ones are easier typically.
Right.
So like me and you have low conflict, but that's what I'm looking for in a relationship. Beyond anything, low conflict.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to be arguing. I don't want to be debating a point. Like I was in a debate about directions yesterday. And I said during it, I was like, why are we arguing about this? Like, let's move on. Like, holy shit. I don't want to be these people. I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to be these people. Like, it just.
Yeah. I like to argue. I like to argue so long as it's not emotional, right? I want there to be, like, for example, if someone has like a substantial, real, justified issue with me and they bring that up to me and we have a discussion about it, that to me is a great thing to have. If someone is just pissed off at me and they're just throwing jabs at me that are unjustified, that I don't like at all, right? But I do like, either low stakes, doesn't matter kind of arguments, or like real good substantial discussions about something. Both of those I'm perfectly cool with.
That's why I wish you were into sports, so I could argue about the state of soccer right now and is it worth watching or giving up on entirely.
Yeah, my
that would be
answer
so
is
pointless, and you can get so fucking heated about such stupid, pointless debates.
true. Yeah, I'm missing out on that, but I have those.
With what? What are your equivalents?
More like philosophical type discussions. Like for example, the common one would be like free will versus determinism, right? Like it doesn't matter. We're still going to live off our lives, regardless of what
The knowledge doesn't change it.
Yeah, like who
Right.
cares, right? But it's still fun to discuss, right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I like in the same way that you said. I forget what you were saying actually. Like the last few times where you were saying, "Oh, you hate when nihilists shut down the conversation by saying nothing matters."
Right.
Now I've lost my thought because I went to find that one. Fuck. What were we just talking about?
We were talking about it's kind of gotten muddled
God
for
damn
me
it.
as
Yeah,
well.
just forget it.
Right.
Forget
Just
it.
got to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I had so many good ideas this week, and I was like, I don't know what line I'm going to draw with this podcast as to what I talk about and not talk about.
Well, what is there? I mean, for me, the line is getting too personal. Like personal information is the line for me.
Yeah.
I don't have particular topics that I would say like, oh, I'm never going to talk about this, right?
Whereas for me, it's like, I don't want to have really strong opinions because I'm always the like, it's like that song. It's, I'm not paranoid. I'm just aware of the consequences.
Oh, no, I haven't heard that song.
It's like this EDM song. Anyways, point being, I'm not paranoid. I'm just like, if we eventually had our faces come out, blah, 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 what topics would I be willing to face, try to cancel this stupid asshole over, and what things would I not? Like, I know this is all paranoid thinking, like in the sense that, not paranoid thinking, but like delusional in the sense that we just started this and we don't even know if this is going to be a thing at all.
Yeah, well, so
in fact, odds would say it's unlikely to be a thing.
True. The thing that I was thinking about recently about in regards to something like this podcast is I was thinking about how many comedians have podcasts these days, right? It's a very common thing for a comedian to then decide to podcast. And it's like one thing that occurred to me about comedians is in our society is like we allow them more freedom to say what they want because there's always this out that they have that they were just doing a bit,
Mhm.
right? Like they can talk about subjects that the rest of us would get canceled for
Mhm.
because it's all under the guise that it's just comedy, right? And it's like I don't think we're super serious, but we're not comedians, right? And I would like us to be able to talk about things, the same things that a comedian talks about, without risking the wrath of some unnamed SJW mob, right?
Right, but that's the other thing. Like, I also understand that it's entirely a trauma response on my part. So, like, not trauma me could give a fuck about being part of an internet e-rage storm, right? That'd be fine. Trauma part of me would not sleep, would get fucked up. Like, it would be a problem, right? So that's what's triggered when we talk about these, like, this is why I need to be careful about it until I solve the...
Yeah, and I get that. I'm the same way. Like, I don't think we've done a podcast yet where I haven't said something that I now think is cringe as hell, right? I
It's
think back and I'm
inevitably
like,
going to happen, though. That's what growth is, right? Like,
Yeah.
you change, like, people have forgotten that you change from week to week. So it's
Right.
like, or month to month or year to year.
that's the biggest learning experience I've had from doing this podcast, is how much I change from week to week, right? Because we haven't even been doing it that long, and if I try to listen to like our first episode, I'm like, holy fuck, what the hell
It'll
was
hurt.
I thinking,
It'll hurt,
right?
yeah. It's like I've evolved from that thought.
Yeah, yeah. So I want that to be there. Like, I think that's what makes this podcast interesting, is like, we're not trying to say the perfect thing. We're going to say stuff from time to time that's bullshit, but whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody should think of us as like authorities on a particular subject, right?
No, I know, but I mean, it's never mattered before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, any of those, like, I'm not like, whenever an NFL player comes out and is like, I'm not a role model, people are like, you are a role model, whether you chose it or
Right.
not. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my word.
Yeah. Well, if somehow we became role models, which is even less likely.
There's not a chance.
Yeah. But if say it were to happen,
Mm-hmm.
the takeaway that people should have is not our specific ideas, but that we're willing to express our ideas and have them challenged, right?
Okay. How much does the school in Kansas have to pay us for us to fly out there to give a accurate look at drugs? Because overdoses are off the charts there. What do we have to get paid to go set up a presentation to be like, okay guys, this is why you should be into cool drugs like weed. Avoid injections. Just never think injections are cool and you'll probably be okay in
Yeah,
life.
yeah. That's
Right? Like, honestly, like, think about drugs. There's not a lot of drugs that you like have problems with that you don't inject. Like, that's the one thing I always thought. For me,
Yeah.
I have such an elbows issue. The idea of tying something off is like, I will fight you to the death before I let
Right.
you try to tie me off. Like, but
I can't inject something. That's insane. But apparently ketamine is really great injected. That's what I've heard.
no, I know, but I hear all these drugs are great injected, but I've always known, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? So that would be my message. Not don't do drugs, do the right drugs.
Yeah, except there are some drugs that can really fuck you up that you can just pop a pill or smoke, right?
Again, no pills. Pills are
No
for your
pills?
20s and 30s.
So you can only
When you're in your youth, you're allowed weed, alcohol, and all, again, in moderation. Not every day,
Okay. But
not every weekend.
you gotta
plan
allow pills.
once a month. You have a party at Sandra's house, and you all get fucked up and drunk and blah blah blah, and that's your one outlet
Right.
every month. So over the college year, it's like 8 parties.
So you're telling me that if I eat a bit of mushrooms, that's cool. But if I grind the mushrooms up and put them into a pill form and I take that's
mushrooms are the one out. You son of a bitch. Oh yeah, you can do that with mushrooms.
Yeah, but I'm thinking the distinction is not the pill, it's how it's like you can,
you know what I meant,
can
pharmaceutical pills.
Yeah, but you can inhale things and you can swallow them. Those are the two acceptable methods of drug delivery that's going to keep you away. Don't snort something up your nose and don't inject something into your veins. And
you don't think a little Coke is okay?
I think that snorting is I don't know. I maybe it's fine.
I don't know enough about it or how many people really do it and don't have a problem with it.
Right. Yeah.
You never know those figures because no one can honestly get drug reports from anybody.
Yeah, like I don't have any kind of hang-ups around cocaine. I think it's probably fine for a lot of people. It's probably a lot more common than we think. It's just not for me. I don't like it. I don't really want to do it ever.
It's never sounded good to me.
Yeah.
Like it's just like certain drugs have always appealed, but that was never one.
Yeah, well, I have I have some issues with anxiety, so stimulants are not fun for me.
Maybe that's why I don't like it either.
Yeah, like they just bring out more anxiety, so it's like whatever, right?
Yeah. Oh man. So one of the other things I was thinking about was how much would it take for us to be bought out by a podcast network?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know the number, but it's
actually the thing that I was originally thinking was, so everybody has these stupid like Patreon shoutouts.
Yeah.
So like for 3 minutes in the middle of podcast, they're just reading stupid subscribers' names.
Oh yeah.
Right? And like these people pay and whatever. And I'm so judgmental of those for so many reasons, but they must work because everyone's doing them.
Yeah, we get Patreon subscribers. We're totally doing that.
There's no fucking way.
Yeah,
See, this is where we disagree.
Thank you, Weeb Lover 76.
No. Look. It's all going to depend on like how much we're charging because like again like I want to do this is so many the breakdown of so many podcasts.
Right.
I never like ad, like I always like how Joe Rogan does it where he just front loads it and he's just kind of like, hey advertisers, straight up with you guys, your ads are all getting jammed at the front.
Yeah.
Like it or leave it, so you can take that sweet easy company money, with no guilty conscience, but then you have no interruptions the whole time. If you want to tack something on the end, you want to tack on Patreon people at the end, great. Yeah. Nothing in the middle. It infuriates me when the people start reading out the Patreon subscribers. I'm like, I want to quit listening to this podcast because of this section.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I agree. I don't want it in the middle. I don't want to disrupt the flow of that. Like I hate that with like YouTube videos, right? Where it's like, I'd like now to take a moment to talk about our sponsor, Bright Sellers. And it's like, do that at the beginning or at the end, right? Like you've just got me hooked. You got me in the flow. I don't want to hear this now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, totally.
You still watch ads on YouTube?
Well, I'm talking about.
If you didn't.
No, not like the ads that Google puts out on YouTube. I'm talking about when a YouTuber gets a sponsor.
Oh, I see.
And it like, I'd like to talk now about Brilliant or Curiosity Stream or all of these things, right?
Yeah. Well, like I almost always forget what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And
right.
some podcasts are egregious. Like I have ones where they do like 3 ad reads in a row and it's like I have literally no idea where they were at in the conversation.
Yeah, totally.
You couldn't
even internet comment etiquette. Are you familiar with that? Like a hilarious YouTuber, and he'll do ads that he makes in the middle, right? And
On YouTube?
yeah, on
Okay.
YouTube. And even those are actually pretty hilarious, but I still hate it because it's like the video was about one thing, suddenly it's about another thing, and then now you're going back to
Yeah.
it's like just put that like his ads that he makes for like VPN or whatever, they're good enough for me to watch them
Yeah.
because they're actually genuinely funny. He doesn't need to put them in the middle. He could put them at the end and I would still
Yeah.
watch it, right?
But this is like that why I think about like, adding bots and shit like that. Like we're savvy dudes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like it wouldn't be difficult for us to just add a million new likes and shit like that,
Yeah, well, we could figure it out for sure.
right? But I realized like I would always want to be upfront on it on the actual podcast that we're doing this. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that people would know we're into just scheming the whole system, because like that's ultimately what it is all about, right? Like
Yeah.
advertisers. So like the reason they want to, I forget advertisers' motivation, but they also have a motivation for people to have fake bots and stuff like that and get on more stuff. you
Oh
know?
yeah. Yeah.
And like the whole system kind of feeds itself. But like it's like I don't mind transparently profiting off a stupid system.
Well, yeah,
Like if we got advertisers because like 200,000 are bots.
yeah, sure. I guess that's fine. I mean, there are like YouTubers or podcasters who may specifically make that their podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just showing all the different ways that you can scam this or that platform to get views.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it works for them. Yeah, we could be completely transparent, like say this is what we're doing, how we did it, and we're gonna see what happens. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Because those are some of my favorite YouTube videos is when people do shit like that,
Right.
right? Like one guy hosted the world's, I forget what he said. It's like the world's longest run, but it was like all fake. He just got a bunch of people to buy the same outfit and take pictures beside certain trees and certain whatever, and showed people how to Photoshop themselves into large groups.
Oh yeah.
And so there's this huge run that happened on Twitter that like trended #1 that like never really happened because he just wanted to do a social experiment to see like,
Yeah.
could we make everyone think like this mass population of people went running?
Yeah, that's cool. I like that stuff too. Right.
And so like I always like the idea of just doing these. What brought on this topic? God, we need a producer.
Well,
need
we
a
don't
guy-
necessarily
we
have
need
to
a-
go back and.
We need a
and-
guy with autism that just sits there and just memorizes everything and then just spits it back.
Yeah, but we also don't have to like try to examine the source of whatever we're currently talking about. We can just.
Oh, I just lose
Keep it-
track all the time.
Yeah. What were we talking about? I don't know.
Yeah.
We were talking about the podcast in general. We were talking about.
Yeah. Direction and what we're gonna do.
Yeah, like what we want this.
Well, that's the
podcast
thing,
to
right?
be
Like
and
we
stuff.
know how to game the system, so it's kind of like my brief look into it was like, here's what you would do if you wanted to skyrocket on the iTunes rankings, because there's already several examples of people and how they did it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or like how you become viral on certain platforms and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I would just be worried. It's like the guy who buys a level 70 character in WoW, right? And then tries to play it, and everyone knows. It's like, you didn't fucking get this far. You
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
anything about this game, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I would worry about. Is like, if we game the system and skyrocket in popularity, would the cracks show so much more? Like, what the hell is this amateur thing trending so much for, right?
But that's the thing. That's why you want it to have people be in on it, because it's like then it's half the people are gonna get what's happening. Do you know what I mean? They're gonna think it's funny. These two guys from bumfuck nowhere
Yeah.
are trending above Joe Rogan. Like, you know what I mean? Like that shouldn't be possible.
Right.
So like even if like, because it really is that good press, bad press thing. It's like, how did they do it? It's like everybody knows we did it with bots, right? Like nobody at this point like is like, wow, they must have such amazing content that like everybody knows it's bots, right?
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
it's that's not going to be a shocking or devaluing thing. It's like it gets us out there. What is this podcast? And some of our titles are like pretty like you're legitimately making good, engaging titles.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, you know, like I can't imagine one for today where it's like doctor told me to come more. It's like
Right.
people will click that shit, right? Like it's the internet. And so like, yeah, I don't know.
No, you convinced me. Yeah, I'm on board with doing that.
I'm just saying it may one day be a fun project to do. I like podcasts where they just fuck with stuff. You know, like if you go to Garth Brooks anything, you won't see a post that's not a YMH, like your mom's house post reference.
Yeah.
Because it's part of their zeitgeist. And like that's what I would do with if we ever had any kind of middling power, anything. It's just like fucking with systematic things that are stupid and broken, you know, like
Yeah.
having a mass amount of people to do something fun is fun. Like that's if we ever got to a point we felt like trying to, like that was the right time to do something, sure.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
we could
I'm
let it
into
grow
that.
organically. This is the thing. I don't care either way. We might be forced into it. You know, it's like 3 years in, it's like you're at 200 subscribers.
Right.
Do you continue this? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I don't have a lot of expectations for this. Like, I don't see, I'm not in my mind visualizing a world where I'm this professional podcaster who's making lots of money from it. If that happens, I'm fully gonna ride that wave for as far as it goes.
yeah,
But
still not, the profession's not paying that much to most people.
yeah, I've definitely like tempered my expectations.
Yeah.
So I can just enjoy this for what it is, and that could keep me going for quite a while, I think, even in the face of like, I mean, if at this point, if we had, I don't know, 20 subscribers, I would be thrilled, right?
Yeah.
If anyone was listening to this, right?
To me, it's always that, like, I always think back to people's journeys of like, they used to record things in their basement, blah, blah, blah. And now they're a sound engineer. It's like,
Yeah.
this podcast could lead to something that we didn't foresee. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, this was an idea I did think about this week, which was, and maybe I brought it up on a previous podcast, but was, do you think the future, to me, the future is just people streaming their lives 100%. So like a podcast, like all these different things we do right now are going to be like, people of the future will be like, why did you do them all separately?
Right.
Like we tune into, you know, Jason TV today. Like
Yeah,
the whole, what was that film? Ed TV?
There's the Truman
Back-
Show.
But Ed TV or something was like the first one where it was like they filmed this guy 100% of the time. They weren't like doing
Okay.
they weren't putting on
Right.
like a fake skit,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I think I remember that.